So good evening. I'm so glad that you're here. And tonight I'm going to be talking about the Gentle Babies book. And there are two options. This is tonight's discussion is about how to use these references. And then I'm also going to share a little bit about my own journey as a labor and delivery nurse, and also as a mom of 5 children, and my personal journey going through labor and delivery in many different situations. So, Gentle Babies does come in a Spanish edition. Now, this is the older edition. It's much thinner, not nearly as much information as the new one, obviously. But for your Spanish speaking team members, this is a phenomenal resource. And but the 10th edition of Gentle Babies, I'm going to tell you, it is a massive upgrade from the last one. There is an entire chapter on safety and essential oils in pregnancy, labor, and in those first few months or first few years of your baby's life. There is also a section in here, which I love, on herbs, like super cool, because there are some plants that God put on earth that actually you want the plant matter. You don't just want the essence of the plant, like you actually want some of the other chemical components in the plant that would not distill out. So there's a time and a place for the herb, and there's a time and a place for the oil. Okay. And it's not an either or, it's a both and. And so Debra does a good job in here about covering some of the herbs that I used in some of my later pregnancies. There's a great section in here about when to seek medical attention. I was on Facebook the other day and this lady posted a picture and she's like, oh my gosh, guys, like I took my kid to the doctor because he had a cut and I was really worried. And y'all, it did not need medical attention, but she was concerned, right? And so, I mean, err on the side of caution if you need to, but also educate yourself. Take a first aid class, like know what arterial bleeding is, know what infection looks like, that type of thing. So this does have a good section on that. And then it also has kind of like your reference guide for essential oils, or your essential oil desk reference guide has a whole what's your problem or what's your symptoms and then what oils to use. This has the same thing, but in specific relationship to challenges that you would face when you're pregnant. And so phenomenal book. This would be like an awesome baby shower gift to that young mom in your life who's worried, and might even be something that you offer to, hey, can I sit down with you, before you have your baby, and let's go over some of your concerns. Let's go over some of your thoughts about your labor and your delivery and those first exciting hours right after delivery. But they can also be very scary. So it can be one of the most exhilarating times of your life. It can also be one of the most terrifying times of your life. So that being said, this is a great reference. Now, what I have not seen in here, and probably because I don't know that it would be able to be put in print, and I'm going to do my best to be recordable here. In my years as a labor and delivery nurse, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about what our rights are as clients. I learned a lot about what labor and delivery is not. Labor and delivery is not a disease, yet here in this country, we very much treat pregnant women the same way we treat someone on a med-surg floor, someone who's in the hospital with a disease. Labor is not a disease. Labor is very much a normal bodily function, in the same way that we breathe, in the same way that we have a bowel movement, in the same way that we walk across the floor, a woman's body is designed to go through pregnancy, labor, delivery, postpartum. And I taught this class a week or so ago, and I wanted to share some interesting statistics with you. Infant mortality rate in America, and infant mortality is death between live birth and the first year of life, okay? Infant mortality rate in America compared to 33 other countries, we are number 33. Like, we are seriously at the very bottom of that stack. And these are first world countries that we're being compared to: Canada, France, Australia, Norway, Sweden, okay? The top, or the best country, is Japan. And your Northern European countries are in the top rankings there. Maternal mortality rates, and this is death of a mother between pregnancy all the way to 365 days after delivery. We are dead last, and our maternal mortality rate is twice that of the second worst. So the country right above us, our maternal mortality rate is double of what theirs is. And I was actually kind of shocked to find out that maternal mortality rates, you're actually 52, if you're going to fall into the I'm going to die statistic, okay? 52% of mothers who die actually die between the 1 week mark and the 365 day mark. So only 17% actually have problems and die during the labor process of those that fall into that statistic. So that was kind of interesting to me. And what's really interesting to me is baby number 4. I had a 50-minute labor, 50, okay, 50-minute labor. I wasn't in bed. My water broke 30 seconds before he was born. Like, literally, I was sitting on my birthing ball, huffing and puffing through my contractions, looked at the doctor. I'm like, my water just broke. And he's like, okay. And I said, I'm ready to push. And he's like, okay. And I got into bed on my hands and knees and I pushed my baby out. So, like, no risk factors. 72 hours after he was born, I was back in the hospital on 4 IV antibiotics with a roaring infection in my uterus. And I had like no risk factors. They checked my cervical dilation one time, super short labor. And the only thing, y'all, that I can come up with that would have caused that is, here in America, doctors don't check the placenta. Like, when that tissue comes off the wall of the uterus, you really need to look at it to see, is it all there? Now, I had a history of bleeding like a stuck pig after my labors, but it's generally because my labors are so fast that the uterus doesn't have time to really get ready to clamp down after the baby and the placenta and everything come out. And so I bled really badly after number 4 was born. Well, one of the problems that can cause increased bleeding after delivery is that there's retention of part of the placenta. And if that placenta isn't examined, and in my 10 years off and on practicing as a labor and delivery nurse, I never saw a placenta examined ever. That retained placenta can actually cause infection because it's tissue that shouldn't be there. And infection after delivery is one of the leading causes of maternal mortality here in this country. So one of the other things I've discovered or seen as interesting in my research, getting, just educating myself about why is America so behind the times compared to other countries, is the number of OBGYNs compared to midwives in other countries is it reflects the belief that pregnancy is a disease. So doctors are there when there's an emergency. Like when I think about why would Joy Ballard's family ever use a physician? One, school physicals. Okay, got to check that block. But really, is there an emergency situation going on? Or is this a natural process and we need to let nature work its way out? Because you don't just want to jump to medicating, because all medication comes with risk. All medication comes with risk. Tylenol, you pull out that insert, I mean, the thing unfolds and it's just massive. And you're responsible for all of that information in the Tylenol box, by the way. And you've got to use a microscope to read it. But if you ever take Tylenol to court, they're going to say, well, it's in the package insert. We're expected to know that information. So all medical intervention comes with risk. Okay. So in some of these other countries that have high rates of midwifery care, it correlates with really low infant mortality rates, and it correlates with super low maternal mortality rates, because the care that a midwife is going to give you is, from experience, radically more comprehensive. I mean, when I would go in for my OBGYN appointments, I'd see the doctor for what, 2 or 3 minutes if I was lucky. When my midwife came to my home for my prenatal visit, she was there for an hour, hour and a half. Like, she's going to get to know my body. She's going to get to know me as a human and my psychology and what my hopes and what my goals are. And she's going to be able to coach me and mentor me. Even though I was a labor and delivery nurse, every delivery I had a doula at it. What's a doula? A doula is a labor coach. Even though I knew labor and delivery, inside, outside, upside, downside, I needed a coach. Why? Because a coach makes you better. A coach gets you through hard times. And it takes the pressure off your husband from being that coach, being in your face, helping you through that transition time of labor that there's no other way around it. It just stinks. Okay. Every woman, it just stinks. And a doula gets in your face and gets you through it. I had 2 home births. I had 1 water home birth. That was amazing. My 3rd home, and I was in the water for like 25 minutes because I have like super short labors. And then my last home birth, we were like, I don't think we're going to get the tub set up in time. So we're just going to do this thing. Home birth was amazing. And you talk about not feeling like you're in somebody's way and you're not being a burden on someone when you need something, because when you're in labor, you need people. Like, you need somebody to be there to help coach you through that. And a lot of my hospital births, I felt like I had to be on the defensive because there were things I didn't want to happen to my baby after my baby was born. And so there was some anxiety surrounding my birth that kind of Psychology has a lot to do with the success of a natural labor and delivery. And anything that happens to put a kink in that mother's mind can really hamstring or really put a kink in the labor process. So I don't know if you've ever watched a cow deliver the baby. They go off by themselves and they put themselves in a quiet, secluded place, and they just quietly have their baby. When I had my home birth, I was able to be in my space where I was comfortable, be in my space where it was quiet, lights were low. When the baby was being born, there were no spotlights put on my hoo-ha to see all the things, right? It was just calm, quiet. Everything was normal. Like it was just an easy flow of the process. When I had baby number 2, I had gotten kind of a little more granola crunchy, and oh my goodness, I decided I didn't want that ointment put in my baby's eyes. And y'all, I was on a birthing ball in the middle of transitional labor. I was having contractions a minute long, 2 minutes apart. Basically, I was getting 30 to 45 seconds of a break before the next one would hit. And the pediatrician who was going to be taking care of my baby after she was born decided that she needed to come give me a lecture about the danger I was putting my baby in to not put that ointment in her eyes. And she came into my room and just went on this tirade about how horrible and neglectful of a parent I was being by not putting ointment in my child's eyes. Not a great experience. And my nurse had never seen a woman give birth without an epidural. Like, she huddled in the corner with eyes as big as saucers and let my sister and my doula and my husband and the midwife do the birth. Like, it was just not a great experience, right? And so I would be like if you know women who are in the childbearing age, I would encourage them to watch the movie called The Business of Being Born, and to begin to educate themselves about what happens to your baby right after it's born. What are the things you can say no to? Because there's a lot that happens to that baby right after it's born that is not necessary, that can be delayed. Ointment in their eyes, that first 4 to 6 hours of the baby's life, the baby can only see about 18 inches. And if you've ever had pink eye and you've had to put that ointment in your eyes, like, it stings and it really clouds your vision. And so the last thing you want to do to that baby is cloud that baby's vision where it can't see you. And from a medical perspective, I don't know what one dose of antibiotics has ever done for anyone. If there is an infection that occurs in a baby's eyes, you're going to see that, you're going to catch that, and a single dose of antibiotics isn't going to do anything. And if you're in a faithful monogamous relationship, there's nothing in your hoo-ha that doesn't belong there. Okay. The vitamin K shot, do some research on that. You know, it's interesting in the world of natural medicine, and I don't know where you stand or where you fall on this, but everyone gets really hung up on vaccines and like vaccines this and vaccines that. And oh my gosh, vaccines. We don't ever look at the other things that can be or may be injected. What's in the vitamin K shot? If your baby's given antibiotics, what are the ingredients there? There's heavy metals in some of that, y'all. So while vaccines, yes, there is a growing body of significant science that raises red flags for many parents. What about this other stuff? If you're on antibiotics while you're in labor, that changes the flora or the bacterial biome of your vagina that baby is going to come through, and that is actually the first inoculation place of that infant's digestive system. So we talk a lot in our classes about gut health. Gut health begins as that baby is being born. And if mommy is on antibiotics during labor, which is very common, baby's digestive system is immediately set back because those antibiotics go to baby, and then baby is not born through a vagina that is naturally, healthfully coated in good bacteria to set that baby's digestive system up for a healthy life. Here in America, the rules of the Medical Association are that a doctor cannot induce a woman before 39 weeks unless there is medical cause to do so. In Europe, you are not considered full term until you are 42 weeks gestation. Now, Europe has one of the lowest infant mortality rates, one of the lowest maternal mortality rates, and America is dead last. That baby's digestive system finishes developing in the last 2 to 3 weeks. That baby's oral health finishes developing in the last 2 to 3 weeks. Have you heard of these babies that have tongue ties and lip ties, and they're going in when they're a couple weeks old and they're having a laser that releases their tongue so that they can suck right or whatever? They weren't allowed to finish cooking. Now, I've been pregnant 5 times. I've had 5 children. I understand that last couple of weeks, it's miserable. But we would do anything for our children. Let that baby cook. Okay. And if you are someone of European descent, as in Northern European descent, if you are tall, pale, and for sure if you're a redhead, don't let that doctor touch you until you are well past 41 weeks, unless there is a medical reason why. And they better have some solid evidence as to why. I did an induction on a woman who was 18 years old. It was her first baby. She was tall, willowy, super pale skin, fiery red hair, beautiful, beautiful girl. She was 39 weeks pregnant, and her doctor said she was ready. And of course, she was very ready to be done. And so she came in 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm getting her ready for her induction, and I check her, and y'all, her cervix was up near her ears, thick, high, tight. There was not a single ready thing about her body, not a one. Okay. But as a nurse, I can't break the patient doctor trust bond, right? Like, decisions have been made. They didn't include me, and I'm there to follow the doctor's orders. 24 hours later, 5 o'clock in the morning, the next morning, I'm now prepping this woman for her C-section. Her her cervix got to 1 centimeter about 4 hours into the induction. They broke her water. When a doctor breaks your water, you are now put on a time clock. Infection can now enter into the uterus at any point, and your chance of infection skyrockets. Okay. So her water's been broken for almost 24 hours, and we're going to do a C-section. And as I'm prepping her for her C-section, she looks down at me and she goes, well, I guess my body just wasn't designed to do this. I was like fighting back tears because at that point I was very naturally minded and I wanted to say, no, your body wasn't given a chance to do what it was designed to do. Okay. So there's a lot of things in this book. And I didn't have this book until my very last pregnancy. But there's a lot of things in this book that talk about what you can do to prepare your body for labor. There's a lot of things that herbs can do. There's a lot of things that oils can do. There's a lot of things, there's stretches you can do. There is perineal massage that you can do. And I know, oh my word, that sounds so weird and just so ew. Y'all, it's kind of like, do you want chapped lips stretching? Or do you want nice, moisturized, gently trained to stretch lips to stretch? Because that's the difference between perineal massage and no perineal massage. Okay? You can prepare those tissues to stretch, or you can stretch some dry, chapped lips. Like, no thanks. Okay? You do not have to let them break your water. You do not have to stay in bed and have external fetal monitoring the whole time you're in the hospital. You do not have to let them cut that baby's cord right away. You do not have to let them screw this little needle into the top of your baby's head so they can monitor its heartbeat because, oh, we're having trouble tracking the heartbeat. Okay? It is possible to deliver without an epidural. Is it comfortable? No, it's not. Have you ever watched a man exercise in a gym? Is he quiet if he's pumping some serious iron? I think not. He's not quiet. So when you're pushing a grapefruit through this size hole, you're not going to be quiet. And that's okay. There's no shame in that, right? I mean, when a cow has a birth, she's not terribly quiet sometimes. And that's okay. When you're in the privacy of your own home, it's a lot easier to let your body just relax and lean into that. Okay? Now, something else you need to know is a doctor's orders carry no weight without your consent. And you can withdraw your consent at any time. Now, if there is a serious emergency going on, yes, they are the expert. Let them do their job. If you are having a normal, everything's going fine delivery, stick to your guns. And you may say, well, Joy, I'm not a nurse. I don't know if everything is fine. That's where a doula comes in. It's kind of in her wheelhouse to assess what's going on, to have concerns or not have concerns. If your hospital doesn't offer a midwife and you don't want to deliver at home, consider hiring a midwife as a doula and say, look, I'm not comfortable delivering at home, but I would really like to have you on my birth team. Will you go into the hospital with me? Midwives are really good at assessing if your pregnancy is low risk. No midwife is going to risk your life just to prove something. Okay. Get a great referral and interview multiple midwives and figure out who you jive with, because nobody gets along with everybody. And you want to have good chemistry with your midwife if you're going to deliver at home. Loved my water birth. It's a great way to help those tissues stretch. Everything's nice and wet and moist. My other home birth was phenomenal as well. Don't get stuck on your back in the hospital. It is the most unnatural way to push a baby out. And it also puts your pelvis in a very closed position rather than a very open position. You need those hips to open up. Another resource that, and she may mention it in here, I don't know, but there's a website called spinningbabies.com. And that particular website has a lot of stretches and has a lot of different positions to put your body into during your pregnancy to help facilitate an easier labor and delivery process. And here in America, when we're in those last few weeks of pregnancy, typically we live them like this, right? Because we're just so exhausted. So we're back, and that is a really terrible way to position your body during those last few weeks. Okay. So I want to tell you one final story, and then I'll take some questions. I was working at a hospital in North Carolina. We were a high-risk hospital. If we couldn't handle the pregnancy, if there were risks associated with pregnancy that we couldn't handle, we referred them to Duke. So like Duke was the step above us in the state of North Carolina. And I had this one particular woman. She was early 40s. It was her 5th or 6th pregnancy. This one had been in vitro, and she smoked. She was in my care as a patient because at 34 weeks, she was struggling with preterm labor. Her water was still intact, but she was on medication in the hospital on complete bed rest for preterm labor. Every 4 hours, she would put the call light on, I need to go smoke. So-and-so, I can't let you do that. That's puts you at a risk, puts your baby at a risk. And if you're downstairs, I can't monitor you. She said, okay, I'm going to take myself to go smoke. So she would unplug those cords, and she would, with her partner, proceed to go downstairs. She'd be gone 30, 40 minutes to smoke. The doctor's orders carry no weight without your consent. Now, in my nurse's notes, I documented the conversation, and I wrote, patient was non-compliant, and took herself downstairs to smoke, because I have to cover myself. If a doctor has a certain set of orders, or if I've asked you to do a certain thing as my patient, and you choose not to comply, I'm going to document that. But that's to cover me, not you. You can, I'm sure that little pipsqueak of a pediatrician who gave me the 10th degree about antibiotics in my daughter's eyes probably went and wrote a nastygram about me in her doctor's notes. I don't care. That's okay. My body, my choice, my baby, my choice. Now, I own whatever perceived risks there are with not complying. But if I'm well researched and everything's, quote, normal, it is going just fine with my labor, keep your hands off me, keep your hands out of me. It's going to be okay. So when you are in a hospital and you disagree with a doctor's order, or you disagree with a nurse's request, realize they will write a nastygram about you, or they will say patient did not comply, but that's to cover them. If it's something that you're not comfortable with, it's okay. You don't have to do it, quote, the medical way, because it's not a medical event. It is a natural, normal process of nature. And, if you're pregnant or you're thinking about becoming pregnant and you want to talk some more about this, I mean, I've been talking for about 30 minutes here. I could talk for hours about this. And I love pregnancy, labor, delivery, and love to empower women to have the birth that they want. Now, all of that being said, your number one goal is healthy mom, healthy baby. Okay? Healthy mom, healthy baby. There is a time and a place for a C-section. There is. There's a time and a place for a hospital birth. Healthy mom, healthy baby. And then the last thing that I want to leave you with is have a postpartum plan. You know, we get so focused on labor and delivery, labor and delivery, labor and delivery. A placenta is about the size of a dinner plate or maybe a big salad plate, okay? And that is coming off the wall of your uterus and it is leaving an abrasion. It's leaving a wound. Okay, so imagine if your child went out and skinned their knee on the concrete, right? And there was this massive abrasion on their knee or on their leg. How long would you nurse that and let that heal? Would you expect that child to be up and back to its normal whatever in 3 or 4 days? Right? Like it's going to take some time for that to heal. Think about that in relationship to what's happening inside your body. Give that time to heal. In the Hispanic culture, down in Mexico, down in South American countries, when a woman has a baby, in general, they are not allowed out of their bed for 2 weeks. They are expected to be still, to nurse, and to do no housework, no nothing. Their sisters and their mother-in-law and their mother all come in and take care of this woman for at least 2 weeks. Their mortality rate, like maternal mortality rate, is really low. That woman is allowed to rest and snuggle in with that baby and bond with that baby and heal. Now, I don't know how many American families can accommodate something as beautiful as that, but have a postpartum plan. You know, instead of all these baby showers, what if we did frozen meal showers and stock that mama's freezer with a month's worth of dinners? What if we had kind of a plan of rotating help through the house? Like set that up because that's really critical for a woman's recovery and it really helps to stave off postpartum depression. And postpartum depression is a huge problem in this country because that woman is expected to jump up and go, go, go as if nothing has happened, as if there hasn't been this massive life-changing event. Okay. And I'll stop there. I can keep going. All right. What questions do you have? Yes. Hoo-ha is a medical term. Absolutely.
I have a question.
Yes.
About what happens like with twins and multiples that most times they don't come to term. They usually finish at 35, 36 weeks or before. So I guess they don't have any choice because they don't fit or they are bedridden or something. So, and most times it's C-sections, right? So I don't know if what's your opinion
so
on
that depends on the health of the mother. A lot of folks who are naturally minded will say, if you're planning to have a pregnancy, you need to begin preparing your body 2 years before you get pregnant. You need to be doing deep nutrition. You need to be doing good body movement. You need to be increasing your flexibility because flexible hips really radically change how they can accommodate babies. And I may be going out on a limb here. Expectations, psychology plays a massive role in a woman's pregnancy, labor, delivery experience. If you have been told, if you become pregnant with twins and you're told you're just not going to go to term, you're just not going to go to term, you're just not going to go to term, your body's going to obey and you're just not going to go to term. And, you know, the breech deliveries, I'm kind of 50-50 on it. It depends on, you know, how, this can sound terrible, how hippie is the person, you know, what's the bone structure? A vertex twin, meaning a twin that comes out head first, and then the second twin may come out breech. That's a lot easier than just a straight up single breech or a first breech, because everything's been spread out. All those tissues have been stretched. But a mandatory C-section because you have twins, that's probably industry standard right now. And that's just silly to me. No, that's dumb. And if you have a doctor that's really negative about your body's ability to have a full-term pregnancy just because you have twins, that's silly. And when I was working out in North Carolina at that high-risk hospital, it was really interesting because my sister was an apprentice for a midwife, and we would have some complication in a delivery, and the outcome would not always be great. And then she would have the exact same complication in a home birth with a radically different outcome. And it kind of, that's when my wheels started turning, because I was a brand new nurse, very medically minded. And I just started, and resuscitate. They had one home birth where they had to resuscitate the baby, and they put the baby on the mom's chest and told that mom to talk to the baby while they were resuscitating the baby. And they were like, you need to tell your baby to breathe. You need to, you know, tell your baby you love him, tell your baby you want the baby here. And when we would resuscitate a baby, we'd grab that baby, throw it in the warmer, and stick it with all kinds of crazy things. There's all kinds of beeping, all kinds of, you know, loud, urgent talking. They're not hearing their mama's voice. They're suddenly in a very strange place with really angry people around, right? So it just started to, are we, because it is very possible in the hospital to resuscitate that baby on the mama's chest and leave that cord intact. All right. Did I ever experience using homeopathic? No. I have only been using homeopathy for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, and have not been in the labor and delivery world since my 4th was born. Someday I would love to become a doula. I don't know that I ever want the responsibility of a midwife. I just want to be there to enjoy the process and coach the mama and not be responsible for tracking it all. But being a doula is not a family-friendly occupation at all. When it comes to diabetes, yes, that is a time and a place for an induction, because yes, there are tremendous other risks to that baby. Type 1 diabetes changes the game. It completely changes the game. All right, what other questions do y'all have?
I don't know if you can answer this one, but I've had so many friends and family that their babies are born and, it might have something to do with that vaginal health, but there's been so many babies in my family and friends that have been born lately, and they are having to go to allergy formula because they're screaming all the time. And, these new mommies don't know how to help them. And is there any type of probiotic or anything that we have that we can offer to try to help them?
So, couple of questions, and I hope I don't step on any toes, so bear with me. Were the babies given vitamin K? Probably. Were the babies given a vaccine within the first hour of life? Probably. Were there antibiotics involved during the labor process? Quite possibly. Were the babies given any antibiotics right after birth because of a slight fever or infection? Possibly. Were they born before 42 weeks? More than likely. There's a lot of factors that go into that. There are probiotics that if any of those were a factor, I wouldn't wait until I had a colicky kid. Looking back now, I would give that child probiotics. Was the mom on any antibiotics during pregnancy? That can affect gut health. What was that mama's diet like during pregnancy and before pregnancy? And in the energetic world and in the epigenetic world, was that mommy vaccinated? Did she pass that down? Because they can change our DNA and they can be passed on in our DNA. None of my children have been vaccinated, but when I work with them with my bioresonance machines, vaccines show up, but they came from me, but they're affecting them. There are certain foods that can cause gas and, gut discomfort when the mama eats it and feeds it to the baby. Is that mommy taking food enzymes? Is she digesting her food well so that the breast milk that she's making doesn't have foreign proteins in it, doesn't have chemical constituents from the food that should have been digested are now being passed through the breast milk? What's that mommy's mental health? The old saying of if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. If that mama gets stressed and that mommy is stressed about the baby, it's going to become this vicious cycle that kind of feeds and it just kind of self-perpetuates. And I am the queen of colicky babies, everybody but my last one, because I had oils and I let the baby go to term. She was actually born at 41 or 40 and 1. It's the longest I'd ever been pregnant. Most of my babies, which were all colicky, were born 39 weeks or less. There's a lot of factors there. All right, what other questions do y'all have? Yeah, enzymes are really, really, really important. They're one of those kind of non-negotiables if you want a healthy digestive system. Our diet is just way too cooked to have enzymes in it. All right. Well, thank you for your time tonight. I hope it was encouraging. I hope you go get this book. It belongs on your shelf because you never know when you're going to have somebody in your home that has labor and delivery questions. It also has like that section on safety and oils is really good. Like has some good references in it for where she got the information that she put in here. And it's really well researched. It's not just an opinion chapter. It's this is what this study says. This is what this study says. This is the whole picture of when they say this chemical component is not safe. Where is that statement coming from? And I will tell you this, and I had this conversation with a doctor. It is unethical to do the study that would need to be done to prove a drug safe 100% during pregnancy. Because what would have to be done is they would have to take that drug to a point that proved where it was unsafe and thereby harm a child. So they cannot prove that a medication is 100% safe during pregnancy because they can't do the study. There's a lot of assumptions because in general it is considered safe, is the caveat to most medications that doctors say, yeah, you can take it during pregnancy because it is generally regarded as safe. Okay? There's no medication that is 100% safe during pregnancy. And all pharmaceuticals have a litany of negative side effects. So, when I read that, wintergreen needs to be avoided during pregnancy. Wintergreen's probably going to be a lot safer for my body and my baby than Tylenol. Common sense use of essential oils, using your mommy intuition, nurturing that inner voice is really important. Really important. And y'all, if you're pregnant and something just doesn't feel right, don't let a doctor blow you off. I've had doctors blow me off about different medical issues, nothing with my pregnancies, but different medical issues. And I might not be here if I'd let that doctor blow me off. So if your inner voice says, something's not right, you need to listen to that. And they work for you. That nurse works for you. Her job security is you in that bed. And the doctor makes a whole lot more money off a C-section than he does a vaginal birth. And there is no gold stars for doctors who only have vaginal births. Okay? It's a business. They're in business. And I don't think that there's doctors that, just have it out for you, but they're in business and they're not there to hang out all night waiting on you to deliver. And a woman having a natural delivery is a lot more work than a nice, quiet girl who has her epidural and she's super comfortable and she doesn't ask for anything because she's sleeping while she labors that baby out. Okay? So just kind of have some perspective. This is a job for that nurse. You are not their friend. You are not their sister. You are their job. And think about that in relationship to whatever job you have. And you would probably want to do everything you can to make it as easy as possible, right? You want to decrease your workload in whatever way you can. And I will confess, when a woman came in and she said, I really want to have a natural labor, that's phenomenal. I'm all for that. You're here for your induction. What'd you do to get ready for it? I watched a baby story. Y'all, that happened like all the time. So a baby story is not adequate birthing prep. Babies aren't born in 30 minutes. And if you're there for an induction, the chance of a natural labor is slim to none unless you find out how to have a low and slow induction. And a friend of mine who just had to be induced, I coached her through a low and slow induction, and she was able to do it naturally. But if you go in and you're clueless, I wish you all the best. It's going to be tough. But there are ways to be induced and prep your body for induction. If, like, for the woman who was saying, well, what about type 1 diabetes? There's ways to get your body ready to be induced, and there's ways to do a low and slow induction. But you got to know what it is.
Joy, I want to clarify a couple things. When we're talking about gentle babies, Debra Rayburn only recommends Young Living essential oils. And just to clarify that, if anybody's watching this later. And then also, and she's been a naturopath, a master herbalist, and a nutritionist for, I don't know, probably getting close to 30 years now. And so she knows the difference in quality. The other thing about what we're talking about tonight with Young Living is that before there was a KidSense line, we didn't have the KidSense line when most of us started with Young Living. And so we all had, now I didn't have oils during my pregnancy, but I had when my daughter, who was a 34 weeker, born too early, I was introduced to oils when she was 4 months old, and I didn't have KidSense. So I was using the oils I had, diluting as necessary. They always say neat on the feet. If you don't have a carrier oil to dilute with, neat on the feet, that means you can put it straight on the feet, but you also use wisdom and you put it on you first and see how you respond. And that will help you understand how to put it on your baby or your child. Gentle Babies was originally designed to be a small diaper bag or fit in your purse to take with you, but the information and what moms wanted, and that's why the 10th edition is, or the 10th anniversary edition is thicker, because there's so much information, and she just kept adding to it. So if you ever run across those old versions, old editions, grab them all. They're really good. And like Joy said earlier, Gentle Babies is still available in Spanish when you buy it from Growing Healthy Homes as well. So I think that all of the questions have been asked for the evening. I don't see any more. I think Joy covered everything. It was great. And so having this information available, please share with your moms. We oil as moms with confidence. We don't take this lightly. And it's not just about taking oil and you don't have to eat right. No, we talked about this. There's other things that you need to do. And I love, especially what Joy talked about postpartum, having a plan for postpartum. Really encourage your mom friends to do that, because we go through all of the other phases. It's kind of like you think about all of the preparation for a wedding, and what about the marriage? So that's the part that you have to really work at. So I hope this was helpful. Also, Sandra's on tonight from South Africa, and Growing Healthy Homes is currently not shipping internationally because of the COVID restrictions. Books are being returned from different countries. So when that's lifted, you should be able to get those. And I'm sure my next trip to South Africa, I would love to bring over a suitcase full of books. So I'm sorry you can't get it right now, but and there's not an e-version either. But I know that there is I believe there's a printable Gentle Babies handout that you could get and download. That is how Debra Rayburn would teach moms to start with essential oils. So hopefully that's helpful, Sandra. And if you ever have any questions, you can, of course, always contact us. Thank you so much, Joy. This was amazing tonight. Very grateful for your time.
All right. Well, have a great evening.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.